Hello everyone! This is the third part of tutorial videos about optimization, and in first part we have been speaking about replacing an existing instance with an actor and back. But what if you're designing a level and you're not generating something this way? What if you just have some static meshes and you're editing a village, you just drag it here, one stone, another stone, third, fourth, and etc. They are not a part of an instances by default. And these are separate static meshes, and every one of them will require its own draw calls. So now it doesn't affect an FPS that much, but if I would have hundreds of them here or thousands, it would. Well, today we're gonna write some systems that will start on a load on begin play of a level and will replace all static meshes that are not instances on the map with an instance. So let's start. Let's open a place where we've created a component for replacing a forest. And I'm gonna create a new folder here and call it on load instances replacer. And I don't like this name, by the way, but you may name it as you wish. I will just call it instances replacer. And what we're gonna do here? We have to get all static meshes from a scene, and we're gonna create a function. Let's call this function get all static meshes. What it's gonna do, it's gonna get actor of class. Get all actors of class. And class is gonna be static mesh actor. And we're gonna return it. Also, let's make it a pure function and rename it actors to an actors. Well, next we're gonna get all hierarchical instance static mesh components that already exist on our scene. Let's create a new function, get all hisms, and we're gonna get all how are we gonna get all components of type hism. Well, we should get all actors. We should get all actors without any class. I mean, just basic actor and a loop through them. And let's add for each loop. And we're gonna get components by class. And the class is gonna be hierarchical instance static mesh component. And we're gonna have a local variable here called hisms. And it's gonna be hierarchical instance static mesh component, and it's gonna be a set. You're gonna get it and add items and do it in a loop body. Well, on completed, we're gonna return these hisms. So we'll have all existing hierarchical instance static mesh components that appears on a scene. Let's call it local underscore hisms, and we will return hisms. Now let's create a function and call it replace static meshes. Well, here we're gonna get all static meshes, get all hisms. Also, let's make get all hisms a pure function. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna loop through each static mesh actor for each loop. And let's promote all hisms to a variable, by the way. Let's promote a variable like this. And then looping through each static mesh actor, we're gonna get static mesh component, get static mesh, and we're gonna get its object name. No, we don't need to get an object name. We need just a static mesh from this static mesh component. Well, now we have to find whether we have a hism for such static mesh. So let's not have just an array of hism. Let's have a map. It's gonna be an static mesh. Or maybe a string. Oh, let it be a static. Let's delete it from here so we will. Okay, it's gonna be a static mesh. Object reference. Okay, let's wait until it will change everything here. Okay, it's gonna be a static mesh. It's gonna be a single. Well, I don't know where is it used. So it's used here. Well, it's gonna be a single, and it's gonna be a map. Map from a static mesh to a hierarchical instanced static mesh. So, because search in the map is much faster, it has complexity of 1 than looping through an array of hisms. That's why we are using it this way. So also let's change the function get all hisms, and here we are not gonna use this, and also let's make a local hisms of the same type. It's gonna be a static mesh, and it's gonna be a mapping between it and hierarchical instance static mesh. Well, we are getting a local, we're looping through components that we found in an actor, getting local hisms and adding a value. First is a static mesh, so we're gonna get static mesh and plug it here, and it goes here by itself, and we're gonna return this local hisms. Call it just hisms. Well, now back to replace static meshes. We're gonna call this function getTool and set a variable like this. Well, now we should search through each actor, through each static mesh actor. We should search whether a hierarchical instance static mesh already exists for this static mesh. So we're gonna get hism and find and plug static mesh here. We're searching in a map whether hism for this static mesh already exists. Branching, and if true, then we are adding a new instance to it. So then we're type and add instance in the world space, And an instance transform is the same transform as an actor has, or a static mesh component of this actor has. So let's get world transform for this component, because component may have not 0, 0, 0 location and rotation and scale. If you changed it, for example, like this. And on false, we gonna create a new HISM component. We're gonna add component by class. It's gonna be a hierarchical instance static mesh component. Now we have to select where do we want it to add. We have to provide it with a target, and target is gonna be get owner. It's gonna be an owner of this instance's replacer. The blueprint itself is not an actor. Okay, I have called an incorrect function. Get owner. Like this. Okay. And the relative transform should be 0, 0, 0. Well, then we are adding this new instance static mesh component into HISM's map. Get HISM's map, add. We're gonna add this component, and we should add this static mesh to this mapping, so that we will know that for such type of static mesh we already will have a HISM. Next we have to provide our hierarchical instance static mesh component with a static mesh it should instance. We should call set static mesh like this, and it's gonna be the same static mesh that we have added here, like this. Well, now it will replace us every static mesh that it has found with an instance. But not every static mesh should be replaced, by the way. So let's add a new function and call it can static mesh be replaced. Static mesh actor be replaced. And we're gonna add an input of type static mesh actor, static mesh actor, and we're gonna add a return node with output, for example, yes, of type boolean. Well, that's on your choice how you're gonna decide whether you should replace static mesh or not. Maybe by some tag or maybe by some class, but one thing that we should all check is whether this static mesh is simulating a physics, because instances cannot simulate physics. So we're gonna get static mesh component and check whether it is simulating physics. No. Simulates get physics get well, is simulating is any transformer specified what is currently used in physics simulation? Yes, is any simulating physics? If it is simulating, then we should not replace it. Also, we should check whether, for example, this actor has component or get component by class, and if, for example, it has a projectile movement component or some else component that you don't want, you can check it by this. So I think that you will be able to write condition by yourself that will fit your needs. So if a static mesh is simulating physics, then we're checking not. If it's not simulating, then it can be replaced. Now back to replace static mesh, and when we are looping, we're gonna call this function like this and add a branch. So if it can be replaced, then we're moving forward. If not, we're doing nothing and we will move to the next iteration of a loop. So that's it. Now we should decide when we will call this function, replace static meshes. We can call it begin play, so when the game will start, it will replace all static meshes with an instances. But now for test purposes, we're gonna make this function, we're gonna call it in editor, like this. We're gonna be able to call it in editor. Now we need to add this instance replacer to some actor, because it's just a component, it should be applied to someone. So let's create an empty actor, call it bp instance replace actor. Let's open it up and I don't know, let's add some sphere here. Let's increase its scale to 15 and no collision and make it hidden in game. Also, let's add a component and it should have instances replacer component. That's it. And now we can add this actor here. Well, and as you can see now, everything here is, oops, what did I do? Everything here is a static mesh. Now we can select our actor. I've closed the details window, so let me open it. I think that's this one. Yes. Okay, here it is, and I'm gonna select an instance replacer, and we have a function replace static meshes. Let's click on it, and now let me move the static meshes, and well, not every one of them is replaced with an instance, by the way. Only these two, and these two are not replaced. That's very strange. Okay, I think that it didn't add us instances for this, or it did, but it added them in the wrong location. So let's open an instance replacer and open replace static mesh. Oh, yes, here, if we don't have an hierarchical instance static mesh, we're just adding a component and setting the static mesh, but we're not adding any instance, but we should. So here we're calling add instance. Also, in the world space, and instance transform is gonna be this world transform. Now to be able to check it again, I'm gonna add some function called reset. It's gonna be, we're gonna be able to call it in editor, and it will get components by get component. We're gonna get owner, get components by class, not interface, get components by class, and we gonna search for hierarchical instance static mesh component and destroy, and for each of these components we're gonna call, do we have clear instances, and maybe we will destroy a component, but it will not work if such component already exists in PCG. So let's select this sector again. I select replace instance and I will tap reset this instance. Okay, it's also removed. Now we have a static meshes here, and let's check if it will work now. Replace static meshes. Now we can move static meshes, and as you can see, they all are replaced with an instances. So these are static meshes, but these are the instances. Okay, and the final thing that we have to do for replacing static meshes, we're replacing them, but we're not deleting an actors, and we're not deleting an actors that we have replaced. So we should get this actor, and we should do it. Where should we do it? Oh, well, we should do it here. We should call destroy actor here, and we should call it also here, and plug an actor here. Well, now let's call an instance replacer again. And it didn't destroy us some of the actors. Oh, I forgot to tap reset. Here we have two static meshes, for example. Let's duplicate it. Let's select our actor again and replace static meshes. Well, this one, oh, I'm sorry. It should not be destroyed here. It should not be destroyed in a loop. It should be destroyed after we have looped through each of them. So let's create a new local variable and call it local actors to destroy. It's gonna be a static mesh actor object reference, and it's gonna be an array. And we're gonna get it and add some of the actors. Let's move it all to the right. And on every loop, we're gonna add an actor to this array, like this. And on completed, we're gonna get all actors to destroy, and for each loop, and for loop, not for reverse, we have a reverse for each loop. So it's gonna loop from the end to the beginning. But I don't think that we need it. We can just loop from the start, by the way. Well, now we can call destroy actor. And let's test it again. Let's tap reset. These two are static meshes. Instance replace static meshes. Now we don't have static meshes here. We have only an instances. So that's it, but I think that a better solution will be to call this replace static meshes in begin play. So like this. So they will be replaced when game starts, and it will allow you to move the static meshes in editor to change their place and so on, because it is not very comfortable to change a place of already created instance. So just call this function on begin play. So I think that in the next part we're gonna do almost the same, but for an actors like a house. And thanks for watching, hope it will help you.